Everyone, today I want to talk to you about my next mistake in my mistake series, which is buy cheap, buy twice. So it's a Thursday morning, and this is where I talk about past experiences in business, property, investing, and this is where I'm doing my mistake series. And trust me, there are loads of them to come, so lots of good stuff to come in this. Before I crack on with the topic at hand, just want to talk to you about my injury update. I'm actually running 5 minute 30-ish K, so significantly improved my pace. So it feels right, it feels tender, it feels, it's my calf. If you weren't aware, a few days ago I had a minor tear in my calf. It's the 5th time in about 8 or 9 months, so this is due to barefoot running, and my calves are getting stronger and more stretched out to be able to tackle it. But most of the time, the first 3 tears were 6 weeks out. The more recent one was a couple of weeks. I was expecting this to be a couple of weeks as well, but I can feel it now. But to be running at this pace a few days after the event is pretty miraculous for me. So I can feel it, and I'm not going to push it too hard because I'll probably end up doing it some more damage if I do so. But I was thinking about what am I doing differently. I'm consciously taking in a lot more protein, and there's obviously scientific evidence that justifies protein being the way that we kind of heal our muscles quicker. So maybe that's having an impact on recovery. I'm hydrating more, but yeah, no, I'm really happy at the moment. So fingers crossed I can get through this one today unscathed, and it might only be a week until I'm back to hopefully near peak fitness again. So that's just my little very quick update on the injury. So next mistake, buy cheap, buy twice. Well, firstly, this doesn't have to relate to just buying a product or buying something that's substandard. It can also relate to people as well. So this is something my wife tells me about all the time. Now, those of you who know me pretty well know that some people say I'm a bit tight. I'm not tight at all. The only thing I am is, my favourite word is probably value. Or I can just feel my calf, so I'm just going to slow it right down. Knew I was getting a little bit optimistic too quick. So really slow now just to try and nurse this through. So yeah, anyway, I'll try and concentrate on this without squealing as my calf screams in the background. But yeah, I shouldn't have spoken too soon, should I? But anyway, back to the topic. It's I just like getting good value. And it's not I want to be cheap. I just want to get a return on the money I spend. So I'm quite happily spend, for example, I'll go in a restaurant, I'll go in a Michelin star restaurant, I will quite happily pay the odds and never have any remorse because the food I perceive is that much better than what you pay in a kind of a typical, I don't know, Wimpy or something, or Little Chef or something, obviously, significantly better than that. So I don't have any issue with paying really good quality stuff because that's what it costs. But same when you look at investments, my model, my metric that I come back to time and time again, return on investment. That's how I calculate everything in terms of my value barometer. So all I want to do in the bog standard purchases in life as well is get a similar return. Just get a good level of return, get a good value for what I'm spending. And quite often I make the mistake, I'll go too cheap. And this will be, let's look at, got a big HMO portfolio. I've often put cheaper products in into the maintenance front. And when you start looking at it historically, you realise that, I've bought 2 or 3 of these, replaced. Morning. I've used these 2 or 3 times, I've replaced them 2 or 3 times. Whereas if I'd just spent a little bit more at the beginning, probably would have avoided that. So certainly, you can certainly buy cheap, buy twice on the maintenance front. And quite often, by buying cheap, you end up creating additional work. So it can become significantly more expensive if you do that. So my advice is, don't go for the cheapest, but don't go certainly for the most expensive. Find something that's kind of trade approved would be my recommendation. Something that's trade approved has generally been put through its paces by tradespeople, and it's normally a good indicator that it will last, and that's what you want ultimately. Now, with regards to people as well, when I grew my property business, I was utilising my tenant pool, and I was looking at it as a way of trying to give back, because a lot of my tenant pool were unemployed, and people were claiming benefits, and a lot of them are just falling upon hard times and needed a stepping stone back into kind of daily society. And so I thought, okay, I'll give some of these people that have got a skill an opportunity, and nurture them back into employment. And obviously it was test and measure, so I'd end up paying a cheaper rate than I would have paid for somebody who was a professional tradesperson or whatever. And I thought, yeah, this is good. This will give them an uplift. It'll saving me a little bit of money, and I'm giving something back. But it doesn't always work that way. And again, you end up finding you're paying less amounts, but it's taking them maybe 3 times as long to do the job, whereas you could have paid somebody double the amount and had it done in half the time. So there's that side of things. And also, you've got to look at and do your due diligence on things. And obviously, generally speaking, you'll do more due diligence on the higher investment. So if you're recruiting someone for the long term, you do quite a lot of due diligence, because that's going to be something that will be affecting your outgoings for the long term. So I'm just running slow, my car's hurting again. But the same regard, if you're spending something really cheap, you probably wouldn't spend too long doing too much due diligence on it. So with people in particular, try and have a really solid recruitment process. I'm going to do an episode on how I recruit my overseas workers shortly. So hopefully that's something that people will find useful. But I'll do that on a separate episode. But in this instance, I've had no end of stories with people I've employed who have robbed from me, who have, I had a guy that gave a company vehicle and they stole the company vehicle. I had a guy who was being paid a decent wage. This is someone who didn't come from the benefits. It wasn't a tenant, but somebody who I knew through somebody, and he ended up, turning up and cutting his hours short. And I even found him. I didn't personally find him, but one of the contractors found him having a sleep in one of the empty rooms on his shift. So there's no end of stories like this where people have come in and have really let me down. But when I say let me down, blame yourself first is something that I look at doing in every scenario, and I just didn't do. Ultimately I was cutting corners or buying cheap by twice, and that comes back to haunt me still today. I'm still not great at it, because I wince when I have to pay out large sums of money. But if I get value, I love spending the money. So it's normally the first payments that hurt me, but once I start seeing the return, the more I can't spend enough. So it's just looking. I think I've gone wrong here. No, I don't think so. So hopefully there's some lessons to be learned here. But if the moral to the story is, like I say, if it's materials or something, if it's for maintenance jobs, refurbs, always look for trade approved stuff that generally lasts the test of time and won't set you back a fortune. Look at what your market is and what you're trying to achieve. If you are buying something in Mayfair, for example, you're not going to want to skimp and save on the refurbishment, because that's not going to appeal to the people you're going to be selling or renting the property to. So in that instance, you've got to know your target demographic. But if you're buying an HMO that's going to have a certain demographic that are not looking for that such high finish, then trade approved stuff will last the test of time, and you'll get value out of that. With people, don't go there, because people can be so disruptive. You bring bad people into your business, you pay tenfold in the future. And I've talked about making sure they're in line with your culture. And there's lots and lots of ways. You don't have to have huge wage bills. You can do things on kind of commission basis. You can do things on profit share. There's lots of things, but you need to tie it to the income. So if it's a fixed income, you can tie a fixed cost to it. If it's a variable income, make the cost base variable. So to protect your profits. And this is again a lesson from the profit process with Josh Keegan. But it's such a valuable one. So you have to identically look into every situation differently. But the general rule is with people, make sure you do enough due diligence, have a robust recruitment process. Do not cut corners with people, because the disruption, they can have relationships with other members of your staff and can cause, disruption in culture. I'm a massive Manchester United fan, and Sir Alex Ferguson was one of the best man managers. And as soon as he had anybody that was kind of questioning his control over the dressing room or the culture in the dressing room, he sold them. He sold some massive, important players to Manchester United over the years, but they've proven to be the right decision at the right time. So there's a lesson there, and I think that's the same with any business when you're growing a team. So hope you found this useful, and try not to make this mistake, because it can be a really costly one. But if you just take these little tips and take a second opinion on things as well, that's another thing that can help here. If you are somebody who's quite prudent or frugal with funds and money, then get a second opinion with someone and try and, more heads are better than one often in many situations. And just checking reviews of stuff as well when you're buying stuff, really important, just to get that compromise between getting value for money but not spending a fortune for it. And it's a bit of an art, but something that when you get right, returns will be there. If you get it wrong, it can be very, very costly. So hope you found this useful. As always, any questions or anything, please drop a comment in. I guarantee to respond to every comment. If it's a bigger topic, I will record a separate blog episode. If you think it's a good value, please like, share, and if it's on a different platform, maybe subscribe to my channel. That would be much appreciated, and then you'll be updated when new stuff comes out every day. And and if, like I say, if it's not for you, just unfollow, unfriend me, and it won't bother your feeds anymore. That's absolutely fine. So as always, stay positive, stay happy, and I will speak to you on the next episode. Bye.